Hello, I'm Dolan Mercer.
And I'm William King.
What's it like going to university in 2020?
Well, nobody really knows.
Hang on, Will, you're going to university. Can you tell us?
Yeah, okay.
You're going to York, aren't you?
I am. Where did you go?
Copycat. I went to York too.
When was that? Back in the 80s?
You cheeky. Hello, Will, are you there?
Hello.
Are you there safe?
Anyone there?
Will?
Who's this?
It's Dolan. Have you got there?
Hiya, Doll. Yeah, I'm in York. It's beautiful.
Fast am I. Good evening and welcome to Life as a Fresher, The Adventures of William King, Part 2. So what is it like going to university this year? Will's been keeping an audio diary of his first fortnight of study as an undergraduate. We've documented each day over Skype. From lectures and mask wearing to parties and new friends, we hear a unique insight into his unique experience. Last week, we heard all about Will's first 7 days in York. Tonight is week 2, starting on Saturday the 3rd of October 2020.
Hello.
Hiya, Will. How you doing?
Hiya, Dolan. Yeah, not bad, thank you, not bad.
How's your weekend going?
It's been good so far, thank you. After we spoke last night, we had a bit of poker in the flat. People took the opportunity to dress up a bit too, which was quite nice because we haven't had that many chances to go out or, get dolled up, that sort of thing. It descended from poker to beer pong and eventually just sort of dancing around the kitchen, which, to be honest, I quite enjoyed.
I suppose you've got to be a bit more creative with your social events
Exactly.
under current circumstances.
Well, this is it. I mean, up until 10 p.m. you're okay because they've got a couple of the campus bars open, including the brand new Forest, which is super. But then when it gets to 10 o'clock, people aren't normally in the mood to just go back to bed. We sort of have to be creative, as you say.
Do you feel that everybody's in the mood for sort of socialising, or are there people being a bit hesitant, perhaps?
Well, I think whenever you put 14 random people from different parts of the country and indeed different parts of the world together and in a house and say these are the people you're living with for a year, you're going to have some people who are more keen to party than others anyway. This year, I suppose that is accentuated. There are people from our house who are more keen to get outside and, wave at other flats and all this sort of thing. And there are some people who don't even want to mingle in the kitchen. Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, yeah.
What else have you been up to today then? Have you done anything nice?
Yeah, so I've explored the online virtual learning environment. That's been one of the tasks we've been set because that is going to be where a lot of our work.
The much loved VLE, yes, yeah.
Indeed, yes. Was it around back in your day even, Dolan?
Yeah, thank you for that, Will. Yes, yeah. It was.
Right?
Believe it or not, it was, yeah. They had discovered the internet.
It's taken a bit of a leap forward, I imagine, in that it is the hub. It is the centre of all learning, basically. I've had to do an academic integrity module saying that I'm not going to copy anyone else's. Yeah,
it's plagiarism
work.
And all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Which is quite funny because some people in the flat haven't got a clue and are saying, can you help me with this? Which sort of goes against the whole...
That's a bit of irony there, isn't there, I suppose?
Yeah, exactly. I then used the laundry just now,
good.
Which was all fine, yeah.
You're smelling a bit better then, that's good to hear.
Well, yeah, and wearing a mask to sort it out is not the most enjoyable because as soon as you step into the laundrette area, your glasses do steam up, however much you've worked on avoiding that. They go. And then after that, I've been over, as one of the challenges you set me, I've been over to Heslington Hall.
Oh, excellent. You had a little wander around the quiet place then. It should be fairly easy social distancing there, I would like to think, at least.
Absolutely, yeah, really spacious, really calm. Did you hear what I sent back?
I haven't, I must admit, no. Let's have a listen now.
I've just arrived at the Derwent College nucleus and I'm just looking around for this quiet place. I see a map on the wall over here. It's a bit of a wet day, but it's quite nice to just get out into the fresh air. Do you know where the quiet place is?
It's just across the lake.
Oh, right, great. Thank you very much. We've just crossed over the lake and can see Heslington Hall. It's a beautiful red brick building, climbing ivy. I was about to say that the ducks don't seem to be out in force today, but you might have just heard some. It's a bit wet. I don't know, where do ducks go when it rains? Clearly not to Heslington Hall. And this, I think, might be the quiet place. I'm here with my flatmate Annabelle. Annabelle,
Hi.
what are you studying?
I'm studying physics with astrophysics, and it's a master's.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't said
masters.
that. Oh, right. We're here at the quiet place. There's a nice little bench.
Well, do you know what? I'm just loving the bench. Beautiful white vintage bench. Looking across the lake, looking at the hall. And also, I can see a bush maze, which looks pretty cool as well.
Oh, lots of big hedges and bushes. Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. What does this say? The quiet place and tribute garden. This garden is set aside for peace and reflection. We're walking through the hedges now. It's a bit of a squelchy day on the grass front. I'm wearing my nice canvas shoes. Oh well. Even in the rain, the most beautiful Heslington Hall. It's just a shame you have to look at the back of Derwent College as you stand and admire, hey Dolan?
Listen, Will, there's nothing wrong with Derwent.
Well, they are in fact building a new Derwent College over on East Campus.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, and they're also building 2 brand new colleges.
Sunday, the 4th of October.
What I'm finding is that although I don't have very much timetabled, because quite a lot of the work is pre-recorded lectures, I'm having to use quite a bit of my own time. I'm going to try and make sure I don't get too excited about societies and that sort of thing. And I think, oh great, I've only got a few hours a week of learning, because actually only a small percentage of it is actually timetabled. You've got to go to the music department now, or you've got to go onto a Zoom call. Quite a lot of it is, here's an email from the lecturer. I've put up a video on the virtual learning environment. Please do it by our next session. So I don't know how much that compares to normal. I've been out for lunch with some fellow Manxies. We went over to East Campus, and as we mentioned, they are building a few more colleges over there too. Last night there was quite a lot of cooking in our flat, actually, because we're catered Monday to Friday. On Saturday everybody was like, well, hey, I'm going to try my recipe. So we had people doing salmon and pasta, a lot of pasta.
How is your culinary expertise, Will?
Not bad. My grandmother actually got me a book called Nosh for Students. I think it was for Christmas, so I've been looking through that. I mean, I can get by. It's fine. I am glad to be catered, though, mainly because of the washing up. You know, you put a lot of time beforehand and afterwards into a meal, which it takes you about 5 minutes to eat. I really like being catered.
No, I must admit I enjoyed it too, and you'll miss it in your second and third years. Don't you worry.
Oh. Yeah. Don't remind me of that.
Sorry, anyway, yeah, plenty of time for all that. What's the plan for the week then? Are you set for your contact hours tomorrow?
This is it, yeah. Tomorrow I've got my first in-person actual lecture, which is super, super exciting. It's a part of the practical project. It's what they normally do at the start of the year to get the music students to know each other. In most years, it takes on the form of let's all put on a musical or indeed an opera or something like this. This year, it's going to be different. And I'll be able to tell you a bit more about that tomorrow once I've been to the sessions on it.
Monday, the 5th of October. Hi, Will. How's it going?
It's great. I've had one of these strange days in that I came to university over a week ago and I started my lectures, and I've had Zoom calls last week. But today was the first day I was actually in the music department with a whole load of music students.
Which is what you signed up to, isn't it, I suppose?
Well, exactly. You know, all the open days and everything we went to ahead of March, and indeed interviews at some universities and the videos that they were showing us and the prospectuses. It was all none of it could have foreseen what we're doing now. So it was actually really nice to be at the music department with a whole load of people. And the music department has done a lot of really good things to enable the degree to continue.
A busy summer, I suppose, for some of the teaching professionals and the academics and things to try and get everything altered in preparation.
This is it. And in fact, from my point of view, from a selfish William King music student in the first year of university point of view, it's great because I don't feel like I'm just doing what the year before did, which sometimes it can feel like in school. It really feels like they've had to put a lot of thought into this, and so we're getting something quite unique out of it.
Quite a bespoke course all of a sudden.
Exactly. So this practical project, the focus is called telemusic. It doesn't just mean the theme tunes of TV programmes, it means music at a distance. You can see why that would be relevant this year. There was a bit of a faff trying to get the Zoom call to work with the people who weren't able to be there in person, whether they're self-isolating or they haven't actually come to York. The academics are not always the most technically capable. And then, as part of the practical project, we went into the concert hall and we all stood 2 meters apart and wore our face masks and sang in a choir. And it was really, really enjoyable. I kept getting a build-up of saliva in my mouth, though. I don't know whether that's to do with the restrictions of wearing a face mask or something like that. I enjoyed the singing, but it did come with its complications.
A slightly muffled choir, was it, perhaps? It sounds like there were some logistical challenges there.
Yeah. And I should say, we're not actually rehearsing for a performance. The idea is to create one of these virtual choirs where everybody records it on their own. But we had the rehearsal. You know, the music department's got the space for everybody to be spaced out. The lady who was at the front is a third year, I believe, and she's done the arrangement of a song called Hold On Just a Little Bit Longer, Everything Will Be All Right. I think it's a Christian song to start with, which a gospel choir might normally sing, but it really does fit for this year. Yes. Everything will be all right.
It sounds apt.
It is. It reminds me a bit of what the governor actually said when I believe we had the first coronavirus death on the Isle of Man. He said, "This too will pass." Distancing in the rooms is fine. It's when we have to move around the department that it can be a little bit troublesome. As I was saying, I think there's a view on the Isle of Man that in the rest of the world, people aren't as good at sticking to the rules as we were. And I think that's definitely right. People on the Isle of Man, if you saw somebody else coming along the pavement, you'd go in the road and to remain 2 meters away from them. Here, people are bending the rules more.
Tuesday, the 6th of October.
Today we had a smaller seminar. It was a discussion group. We were all in rows wearing face masks. It feels like I'm a bit into the routine now, to be honest. Then I came back and did some more independent work, and then I had a Zoom call. The issue with doing a music degree over Zoom calls is that they can often be quite... the music doesn't always sound great over Zoom. You can set it up to share your computer sound, but then as soon as the academic goes and sits at or the PhD student goes and sits at their piano to play you something, often Zoom doesn't really like it. And I know there are settings you can change, but not everybody's mastered it.
How do you get around the time delay? Because, I mean, even when you and I speak, there's a slight pause between me saying something and you hearing it. I assume the same applies if you try and play music over the internet.
This is actually one of the big topics in our telemusic and music at a distance project. We've been talking about virtual choirs, and this is the issue called latency, is what it's called. So speech works over Zoom because it's sequential. I say something, then you say something, and then I respond. But when it's music and you want things to be crisp and even and four in a bar or whatever, and everybody doing something at the same time, it's really challenging. There is a composer called Eric Whittaker who said before it became a big craze in 2020, several years ago, did a few virtual choirs where he would get people to record their own voice. And then he did one where he had a big choir on stage and a Skype call going on with loads of other contributors, and he'd written this piece that would work with the delay. So whether people were having to click or clap on the Skype call and indeed sing, there are ways around it, but you've got to be creative.
Wednesday, the 7th of October. Hi, Will. How are you getting on?
I'm actually really good, thanks, Dolan. Last night, after we spoke, I went over to the Sir Jack Lyons Concert Hall and Music and played in an orchestra. I've actually never been so smug to be a brass player because we didn't have to wear the face masks. Playing a brass or indeed a woodwind instrument involves blowing air from your mouth into the instrument. And if there's a face mask in the way, I don't think that would work. It's getting all a little bit samey, I have to say, Dolan. Had another in-person lecture with a PhD student. I say lecture, there were about 10 of us in the room. He was stood behind a Perspex screen. We were all doing group work. He set us a quiz, which was a little odd to do in Teams, because you couldn't really confer, because everyone else would hear you from the distance. Then I had another Zoom call. The interesting thing with a Zoom call, I've realised, is that it's actually quite easy for it to overrun. The music department pays, so it's not limited to 40 minutes. I'm sure the university's got a good Zoom account, but basically there's no one else needing to use the room. and the lecturer is sat comfortably with their cup of tea or whatever, and they can just go on
And
and
on and
on
on
and
and
on.
on.
I think the only thing holding them back is their next thing they've got to go to. So that's one of the things I've noticed from doing the Zoom calls. Then eventually, after that, I've just been actually down to the Freshers' Fair. They've been doing these all week rather than having one, and they've had different focuses every day. So I think we had international societies, so like the York University French Society, the Irish Society, all these sorts of things. They were on Monday. Tuesday, I think, was more political. Wednesday, today's, has been music, media and performance. So even before I came, I knew that was the one I would be most interested in. So I booked a ticket and have been along to that. So that was really great earlier, actually. I've spoken to loads of different groups, loads of them having innovative ways of continuing what they normally do. Some of them are just waiting, hoping that they'll be able to do more, especially some of the performance-based ones. But yeah, people are being creative.
Thursday, the 8th of October. Will, it's coming up for a week now since I set you a couple of challenges. Well, 3 in fact. You've completed one of them. Any progress on the other 2?
Hi, Dolan. Yeah, in fact, just today I have done the walk to Fulford, or at least I've tried to.
Oh dear.
I wasn't totally sure if I'd made it. I went across the pastures, past some allotments, and I ended up at a pub called the Fulford Arms. And I wasn't totally sure if I'd made it, but I'd been walking for quite some time by this point. So had I made it to Fulford?
That is mission successful, Will. Yeah, well done. I'm impressed.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that's 2 out of 3 then. You're doing pretty well.
It is indeed, absolutely. Yeah, it's been going quite well.
Well, I used to live in Fulford in my second year. So you went through the allotments. If you'd carried on to your left, you also unwittingly wander into the army barracks. So
right.
You dodged a bullet there, no pun intended.
Something else I should just say about today and last night was that our food, catered halls, as we've mentioned quite a bit. It's one of the highlights. Yesterday afternoon, we had an email from Mike Britland, our college manager, saying, do not go to the RKC, which is where we normally get the food tonight. Yeah. They've got a lot of staff off at short notice. Please go to James Hall, which is another building, and collect your takeaway meal and eat it in your house. So
now, off at short notice, what did you think when you read that?
Well, the instant thought, I thought a few things. At first, I thought, oh, great, is there coronavirus in the canteen where we've all been going every day since we got here? But then another part of me thought, everybody is being really cautious.
Yeah.
So perhaps all that's happened is that a few of them have developed a cold, and they've thought, right, let's just close it. Let's just not risk anything. I'm hoping it's the latter. I guess we'll find out in the coming days. When I walked past last night to pick up my food, I did see some people in white overalls with hoods. I'm avoiding the word hazmat suit because it wasn't that. It was overalls, and they were cleaning it. So it looks like the room's had a big deep clean, which is good. There's been a bit of speculation on some of the York social media sites. I don't really think it's worth speculating, but I think, we'll find out what's been going on there soon enough.
Friday, the 9th of October. Will, 2 weeks now you've been there. How does it feel? Has it gone quickly, slowly? Are you settling in?
Well, it's rushed by. To think that the 2 weeks quarantine my dad has had to do since taking me to York and arriving back on the Isle of Man runs out tomorrow. Makes me think that it's 2 weeks, but in fact, there's been so much going on that I haven't been able to stop and just think, wow, I have been here for 2 weeks. Because in fact, that's quite a long time. The term is, I believe, 9 or 10 weeks. So we're getting through it,
Yeah.
I've just been over to East Campus for a swim, which was really nice.
Lovely.
I used to quite like going swimming at the NSC. Over on East, there's a nice big pool, all set up for social distancing, which is quite novel.
Yeah.
There are signs saying, please try and social distance while swimming. Now, lane swimming is challenging without coronavirus because you have to judge, do I go in the fast lane? Do I go in the medium, the slow? I never really know, so I go in the lane with the fewest people in it. And then more people come and you think, oh dear, I should probably be in the medium lane. Normally it's trying to keep up with the other person, or you don't want them to overtake you. I think far too much about the other people when I'm swimming.
Listen, if people are struggling with social distancing on foot, you would think that swimming, it would be, well, nigh on impossible, surely.
Yeah, though it wasn't too busy. They've been restricting numbers of people for sessions and all that sort of thing. So it's been okay, but sharing water with people cannot be good.
No. Will, you spoke to me yesterday about some slight concerns in the canteen at James. Have you heard any more about that?
Yeah, shortly after I spoke to you, actually, Dolan, we had an update from Mike saying it was all fine and that we could all go back to the catering hall on Thursday night. There wasn't even very much reluctance among people. I sort of half thought that whatever they said, people might just not bother, because all the time we've been allowed to opt for a takeaway meal. So, yeah, it was all fine. There has actually been talk building that we might hear of some pubs closing. I'm not totally sure what the situation will be. I actually heard Sharon Stoltz, who's the Director of Public Health here in York. She was on Radio York just earlier today saying that she'd been expecting an update today on whether York was going to be put onto the government's watch list, and that's not happened because they're changing the system that they're going to use. She seemed pretty frustrated about this. So we're waiting and seeing. There are more cases at the university and in York. Student media is very good here in York. There are two main student newspapers, Noose, which is like news, but the river Ouse, so news, and then there's York Vision, which is more of a tabloid. Yeah. And they have just on their website put up a brilliant thing with an interactive graph telling you how many cases there are. So,
what's it looking like?
In York today, there are 46 new cases. Yeah. The current number of active cases on campus, or within the university community, I should probably say, is 147.
Right.
So there are quite a lot of flats who have to self-isolate because they've developed symptoms and then they have a test. And whilst they're waiting for the test result, they have to just isolate for a few days. If that test becomes negative, they no longer have to isolate. If the test is positive, then I believe it's 10 days actually now, rather than 14. Anyway, they then have to do a longer isolation.
If you think about that as a proportion of the university sort of student body, something like 16 or 17,000 students, I think, nearly 150 cases. That's not good, is it?
No, totally. I think, there's far more people who haven't got it than have. Yeah. And far more people who are sticking to the rules than aren't.
Do you feel safe there, Will?
I do, yeah. Everything that the university have been doing has been fine. If you want to stay safe and maintain social distancing and wear a mask and do what you're told, you can. Yeah. And if you don't, you'll have to, I don't want to say suffer the consequences, but you will. You'll have to.
I know what you mean, yeah.
You'll end up self-isolating for 2 weeks.
Now, just finally, Will, we're going to end on a more positive note, I hope. Around this time last week, I set you 3 challenges. You've ticked 2 of them off. You've gone and found Heslington Hall and done a little lap. I had a wander out in the other direction, out to Fulford. Did you find the Buddha at Vanbrugh College?
Dolan, I absolutely hate to disappoint you.
Oh no!
But I've not found it. I haven't found the Buddha.
Does this mean I win?
Does this mean you win? I went to Vanbrugh.
Oh.
I couldn't find it at Vanbrugh, but I'm reliably informed that it's in fact no longer at Vanbrugh.
Oh, so I've set you an impossible challenge.
I don't know. I'll have to go and have a look, Dolan, and send you a message or something. And
I've stumped you. I think that means I win. Well, you got 2 out of 3. That's pretty good.
I hadn't realised we were competing here.
Oh well, that's why I didn't tell you, as you say.
Yeah. Well, what do you win?
Pride. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Pride.
Listen, Will, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and thank you for giving us an insight into your first fortnight.
Thanks very much.
I really hope that the rest of your first year and beyond goes really well and you have a fun time.
Thanks, Dolan. I've never wanted to speak on behalf of anybody, but I think a lot of people are beginning to get into it now. And, we've left the bubble. That's the way I've been putting it. The Isle of Man is great and it's done really, really well. But there are opportunities elsewhere not provided on the Isle of Man, which some of us have chosen to go and pursue. And I know people have been saying things like, oh, well, don't go into the coronavirus world if you don't want to. Well, I think some people, we've just got to accept that the rest of the world is out there and coronavirus is out there too, and it isn't that hard to adapt.
A bit of needs must, maybe?
Well, exactly. And, I've been planning this for quite some time. Yeah. And then a pandemic comes in. A lot of people are in this situation. And I think it's easier to adapt than some people may be thinking it is.
Well, stay safe, Will, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thanks very much. Yep, I'll be back at Christmas, I hope.
You've been listening to Life as a Fresher, The Adventures of William King. This episode will be available as a podcast at manxradio.com shortly. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.